The modern world became what it is today thanks to computers. Each of us uses software every day, and we can hardly imagine life without it anymore. This video explores the fascinating history of programming and how computers came to be. It's about how people learned to give machines instructions, from basic calculations to complex neural networks like ChatGPT. Let's dive into 10 fascinating facts about programming. Contrary to popular belief, the history of programming didn't begin with the first electronic computers. The world's first programmer was actually a woman named Ada Lovelace. In 1843, she created the first algorithm meant to be executed by a machine. But this machine wasn't electronic, it was mechanical. It was called the analytical engine and was designed by British inventor Charles Babbage. The machine was massive and made up of moving parts, gears, and drums. It even had memory cells capable of storing and updating values during calculations. Essentially, it was a giant mechanical calculator. Although calculators existed before, Babbage's design could solve complex equations using formulas. Unfortunately, the full version of the machine was never completed during Babbage's lifetime due to financial and technical difficulties. His son later partially built it, but it was Ada Lovelace who developed the algorithm for it. This is considered the first computer program in history. In 1991, engineers at London's Science Museum built the full analytical engine based on Babbage's original drawings. It worked exactly as intended, using only materials available in the 19th century. The machine was operated by turning a crank and could solve complex mathematical problems with precision. The first general-purpose electronic computer appeared in the US just months after World War II ended. War has often driven technological progress, and World War II was no exception. Long-range artillery required precise targeting, which depended on environmental factors like wind, temperature, altitude, and pressure. To account for these, soldiers used special firing tables. An extremely time-consuming process. To automate this, the ENIAC computer was built an electronic digital machine capable of performing a variety of calculations based on the loaded program. ENIAC weighed 30 tons, filled an entire room, and contained hundreds of kilometers of wiring. Since microprocessors didn't exist, it used more than 17,000 vacuum tubes. Interestingly, the machine only worked half the day. The rest of the time was spent replacing the constantly burning out tubes. In today's unstable world, finding a reliable profession is more important than ever, and the field of IT, especially programming, provides just that. Programmers are always in demand, and salaries continue to rise, unlike in many other industries. Even if you're not a developer, you've likely heard the term programming language. But why can't programs be written in regular English? It's because computers only understand machine code, binary sequences of ones and zeros. This binary language gives the computer instructions it can execute. But writing in binary is incredibly complex and inefficient for humans. That's why programming languages were created. These are text-based commands, mostly in English, with special symbols written in ways humans can understand. A compiler then translates them into machine code so the computer can act on them. Different programming languages vary in complexity, syntax, speed, and areas of application. Some, like Python, are easier to learn but slower. Others, like C++, are harder but much faster and more powerful. No single language is perfect for everything. One that's great for making games might be terrible for building websites. And just like no one speaks every human language fluently, no programmer knows every programming language well. Interestingly, some programming languages are intentionally designed to be extremely difficult as a kind of parody. For example, the language brainfuck consists only of symbols like plus and brackets. To print "Hello World" requires an absurdly complex line of code. Other joke languages include cow, made entirely of moo sounds, and malbolge, named after a circle of hell in Dante's Divine Comedy. Despite their ridiculous nature, these languages are still technically functional. Even casual users are probably familiar with the term bug, an error in a program that causes it to fail or behave incorrectly. The term bug was used by Thomas Edison in the 19th century to describe mechanical problems. Its first use in computing happened in 1947. While working on the Mark I computer, programmer Grace Hopper found a moth stuck inside a component, causing malfunction. She taped it to the computer's logbook, calling it a bug. Since then, all programming errors have been known as bugs. Sometimes, a single bug can cause massive damage. In 1962, NASA launched the Mariner 1 spacecraft toward Venus. Just 293 seconds after launch, it had to be destroyed. The reason? A missing hyphen in the program code. This tiny omission caused the navigation system to malfunction, making the spacecraft veer off course. The mistake cost $18.5 million at the time, roughly $150 million today, earning it the title of the most expensive hyphen in history. In the early computer days, software wasn't downloaded from the internet. Some programs came from radio broadcasts or were printed in magazines. In the 1980s, the ZX Spectrum computer let users load programs from audio cassettes. People would record broadcasted tones onto tape, then transfer them into the computer's memory. Magazines printed program code that users could manually type in to create working software. This era gave rise to many early computer games, including those enjoyed by the first Soviet gamers. If you follow the IT world, you've probably noticed that many successful programmers in the West are of Indian origin. Google's CEO Sundar Pichai and Microsoft's Satya Nadella are just two examples. Why are so many top programmers from India? It's not a genetic advantage, it's access and motivation. India has a massive population, widespread English proficiency, and significant poverty. For many young Indians, learning programming is a way out of hardship. Even low-paying freelance jobs for Western clients offer high earnings by local standards. With over 1.4 billion people, many of whom live in poverty, India produces a huge number of programmers. Many eventually move abroad and take leadership roles in major companies. In contrast, Chinese programmers are less common in the West, largely due to language barriers and internet restrictions in China. Software development is highly profitable. Once created, digital products can be copied and sold infinitely without using physical resources. That's why software companies scale quickly and generate huge profits. But they also invest heavily in development, maintenance, and updates. Since the code is valuable intellectual property, many companies keep it secret. This secrecy has raised concerns among developers, especially regarding privacy and surveillance. In the 1990s, the open source movement began. It promoted transparency in software development by making source code publicly accessible. Anyone could inspect, improve, or help develop it. Open source software is often tested by thousands of programmers, increasing security and reliability. Some open source programs are still sold under licenses, while others are distributed entirely for free. One of the most famous is Linux, an alternative to Windows that powers most servers and underlies Android. Programming isn't just a career, it's also a competitive sport. Programming competitions and Olympiads challenge individuals or teams to write code-solving complex problems. Judges prepare hidden tests to evaluate the submitted solutions. Such events help universities select talented students and allow tech companies to recruit promising developers. It's well known that programmers earn high salaries. But this wasn't always the case. Decades ago, programmers were seen as niche professionals. Today, they're among the most sought-after and well-paid specialists. So much so that some people mention looking for an IT guy, even in dating apps. The high pay comes from the imbalance between supply and demand. It takes years of constant learning to become a skilled developer. Technology evolves rapidly, and programmers must stay updated. The pool of experienced developers remains smaller than needed. Meanwhile, a small team of skilled programmers can create products worth millions. When Facebook acquired Instagram for $1 billion, the app had fewer than 15 developers. As developers gain experience, their salaries rise. If one company can't offer more, others will, because demand is so high. While future trends are uncertain, it seems the demand for developers will remain strong for years to come. Thanks for watching this video until the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hope to see you again soon.